On the posterior teeth, we have those very nice curves on the mesial and distals of molars. And so when I'm doing a class 2, I want to use a form such as DualForce, where you have these sectional matrices and these rings. And the rings with the DualForce are nice because they give a nice balanced separation force between the teeth, open up the contacts. Being night-high wires, they resist fatigue over time, so they always have the proper amount of force that we like to see. If you look at the tines that go down between the teeth, they really lock down underneath the undercuts of the teeth to resist dislodgement. There's nothing worse than starting to fill class 2 and have your ring pop off, and they're autoclavable. So again, we want to be sure that we protect our patients. So when we take these little sectional matrices, I want to make sure that you understand that we want to have the right size. And when I talk about size, I'm talking about the height. So in this case, you see that the top of that matrix goes right into the marginal ridge. It gives us that marginal ridge contour that we're seeking. And that's what we want. We want that to help us form that contour. Once we get that matrix into place, what we'll do is we'll slide our wedge down, and that wedge will give us a little separation between the teeth, open up the contacts, and it'll hold that metal matrix in place. So here we have the wedges, just showing you how it's narrower where the contact is. We're going to slide that. It's going to contract and then expand once we get it through the embrasure. Here's what we don't want to do. So here's a matrix that is sitting way too high. It may have slipped up. It may be just one that's too tall. And then the wedge goes in there, and that wedge sometimes will cause your matrix to rise. So we want to make sure that we position it properly. Once we have the matrix and the wedge in place, and that's when I take the ring and I place the ring over the top of the wedge. The tines have a little V shape in them, so they'll fit over the wedge, and it'll hold our matrix in place. Now you can take the little pinch plier, there's a little ball tip on the pinch pliers, and I'll burnish that up against the adjacent tooth so I have a nice tight contact. Now this is one of the views I want you to understand. This is what I do at the very end. I have everything put together. I take my mouth mirror, like straight down my preparation. I want to make sure my gingival floor is sealed up well by the wedge. I want to make sure that the axial cable margins are sealed up well by that matrix. And I want to make sure that I burnish that matrix up against the adjacent tooth. And these are examples of the rings, how we stack them. If I had an MOD on that molar, how I could put one ring down and another ring on the mesial of that. And because that they're canted up some 20+ degrees, we can do what we call stacking. If I want to, we could create a butterfly where one ring goes to the mesial, one ring goes to the distal, kind of creating this butterfly appearance. And then we can get really creative. We can stack, in this example, we can stack the 2 rings to the distal and butterfly one out to the mesial. So that's kind of what makes this fun to do.